Hello, everybody. This is Emily, founder and CEO of Bossed Up. Welcome to today's Career Crush Q&A with my incredible guest, Dominique Broadway. Thanks so much for joining us, Dominique.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So these conversations are part of Bossed Up's broader mission to help women navigate career transition and craft a happy, healthy, and sustainable career path. And I'm so glad that you and I can chat about your story because I just know that it's going to inspire so many people to get sort of a behind the scenes look at how you went from relative success in a career path that just bored you a little bit to starting your own thing on your own terms and getting to the point where money named you, the top 30 under 30 as a financial expert for the entire country, specializing in millennials in particular. So why don't you take us back to the beginning and tell us a little bit about how you got started with Finances Demystified?
Yeah, so I started out, I guess like 9 years ago, which seems super, super long. It makes me feel really old. But about 9 or 10 years ago, obviously, I started working at brokerage firms. So I decided, like, when I was in high school, that I really wanted to be a financial planner. So I was obviously kind of a nerd, but I was like a cute nerd. And so I decided I was really interested into stocks, investing, and things of that nature. And I realized that I didn't want to have to work forever. And I wanted to figure out ways so my money could work for me. So essentially, I started got interested in the field of investing, got interested in the field of financial planning, majored in banking and finance at Bowie State University, which is a historically Black college and university. Somehow managed to get an internship at one of the top brokerage firms in the world, UBS Financial Services. And that's kind of where my career in financial services, financial planning, and investing began.
Awesome.
So I don't know if you want me to go on from there or...
Yeah, well, tell us a little bit about what that meant for you. Like, I want my money to work for me because I know it's New Year's time. So many of us are making big goals and New Year's resolutions about how we're going to be better, determined, or sort of have more self-control when it comes to spending and more savings. But I love the way you talked about how money isn't something to feel bad about or pressured about or scared about, which I think is so omnipresent in how we talk about money, especially for us women who just aren't categorically or socially conditioned to think a lot about our finances from a very early age. So what does that mean to you, like having your money work for you, and how did you make that happen soon after graduating?
Yeah, so I actually started that while I was graduating, as far as making my money work for me. So I just realized that you're supposed to go to college, get a job, and then work for 45 years or so, and then you retire. That to me made no sense. I'm like, that has to be the craziest thing ever. There's nothing wrong with people that do that, but I realized it was not for me. And so I realized that I wanted to just make sure that I was able to make money and have my money working for me. And when I say that, in high school, my initial thing was, starting to invest in the stock market and starting to invest in things that I owned, not in high school, but in college. And I know some of the first stocks I bought were like Apple. I remember when Chipotle went public and buying Chipotle stock and, all the things surrounding that, and being able to be at my internship or be in class during college and look and see, oh, wow, I made $300 yesterday and I was sitting in class. So that was what I meant by making my money working for me, where I'm not consistently having to go out on a daily basis and actually physically earn money. So that's kind of always been my philosophy, even now, just trying to create revenue stream so that eventually I won't have to work all day, every day. I work like an animal now because I'm an entrepreneur, but hopefully, soon in the next 3 to 5 years, hopefully by 35, I won't have to work so hard. And, I'm working smart now and hard, but I'm also laying the concrete so that my money can work for me. So that's what that means, being able to have those passive income streams,
right?
Not necessarily related to anything multi-level marketing, but having those passive income streams so you can do what you want when you want without having to clock in somewhere.
Right. And it's funny because I want to make it clear that here at Bossed Up, when we talk about being a boss, we, use that term very broadly to apply to people who aren't entrepreneurs and aren't interested in starting their own business. And that's totally cool. It's all about having agency in your own life and being the boss of you and yourself, me, myself, and I incorporated, right? And so I love hearing the agency that you have, but also that extra level of being an entrepreneur, while it can be so scary and so risky to start, you're really setting yourself up by taking an active and engaged role in planning your future for yourself. How the hell do you start, right? Like, how do you go from feeling like I have no idea what the stock market is, or I have no idea what to do with my money, to actually making it something that you're not running away from in blissful ignorance, but something that you're taking the reins on, even when it's a little bit scary. And actually, before you answer that question, Dominique, I should add that folks are tweeting in their live questions. So please feel free to use that hashtag Career Crush, or tweet at me, Emily Aries, or at bossedup.org, and Dominique at Ms. Finance Coach. So ask your questions live that way, and we'll cover them as well. So Dominique, go ahead.
I forgot what was the question. Oh, how do you kind of
how do you start when you just feel totally overwhelmed and I don't know, this money's not my thing, you know?
Yeah. So when you're trying to get started, I think the biggest thing, what I've learned, is that you really have to know where you are. So a lot of times people are scared to start because they feel like they're so scared to look at their current financial situation and see and what's really going on. So I think the first step is really like, okay, all right, this is how much debt I actually have. This is how much income I actually have. This is how much my monthly expenses are. And a lot of times I've met with so many clients who are petrified, like literally to open their mail or whatever it may be. And they're like, oh my gosh, Dominique, I have all this debt and I have this and I have that. And then we sit down and it's nowhere near what they thought they had. And it's immediate relief because it's like, okay, I actually know what I have. So I always say, just sit down and kind of take, what's the word I'm looking for? Take a count of what's going on. So figuring out your two magic numbers, which I always say is your income, how much money you're bringing in. You'd be surprised how many times I meet with people and I'm like, how much do you make? And they're like, oh, let me look for my pay stubs. Like, no, you should totally know this. Why do you have to look? You should know how much money you're bringing in, how much it costs to run you every single month. How much does it cost to run Dominique Broadway, to keep me clothed, looking good, mortgage paid, gas in the car, food, belly full with brunch, whatever it may be, right? And then, like I said, the other thing is knowing how much debt you actually have, I think is the first step. And I honestly feel like for most people, once they sit down and take inventory of what's going on, a lot of times they're able to figure out what they need to do next to reach whatever their goals are.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And it's easy in today's society where we're sort of conditioned to just buy your happiness, buy feeling good, buy this or whatever, to like be sort of in the herd or just go with the flow. And I feel like if we allow inertia to determine our spending habits or our financial habits, or if we allow our friends and their habits to determine our habits, which is easy to do through just osmosis, through who you hang out with, without taking account of your own personal priorities and really being a leader in saying, here's what I want Emily Aries to run like, here's what I want for my future, even if it looks a little bit different than my friends who I still love and respect and honor. It can be.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's different. All of our lives are different. And that's, one of the things they say that social media kind of messes us up, especially as millennials, because we're like, oh no, so-and-so just did this and so-and-so just did that. And it's like, oh no, I can't do this. I can't do that. And people just kind of start feeling bad about themselves. They start spending more, trying to keep up. Everyone was keeping up with the Joneses before. And now everyone's keeping up with the Kardashians. Which is a whole other thing, or the Housewives or whatever. And most people, those are not realistic.
No.
I mean,
Insta envy, right? Instagram envy is real. And I have to shout out.
I've felt that. I've been like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I'm not working hard enough. Or, oh my gosh, she has a husband. I need to get a husband. We've all been there.
Yeah. And what I love about, I have to shout out to your Instagram account, because you're always looking like $1 million, first of all, at every event. Dominique and I basically ran circles around each other for the first year in which we were both working in DC in our respective businesses. And we were just sort of checking each other out, like, who is this girl? Who is this boss I want to get to know? And it's true. You look like $1 million. And then I love how you come in and you're like, Marshall's baby. You're like, look like $1 million without spending $1 million. What is your Instagram handle again?
My Instagram, it's at Dominique Broadway. So
at Dominique Broadway. Yeah. You guys got to go check it out because she's always looking super fly. And sometimes we make cameos on each other's Insta accounts whenever we can hang. So I want to get into the nitty gritty
Mm-hmm.
Sort of tell the real story here behind how you started your own business. Because I've heard this story before, and it's great because if you're looking for a clean, simple, I started my business and I was successful the next day story, then go elsewhere. Now is the time to tune out, right? Because that is bullshit. Like that doesn't
wish that was my story.
well, who like I don't believe those stories. So here at Bossed Up, I like to keep it very real, and I just want to like give you the opportunity to share authentically about what was going through your head when you quit your day job and decided to start your own company, and like how did you not only financially but also emotionally and spiritually or whatever make it happen? How did you make that transition happen?
Yeah. So taking it back, as I mentioned to you before, this is definitely not an overnight success story. Although everyone seems like an overnight success, there's no such thing. Basically, I was working, like I said, for a major brokerage firm. I was working for UBS Financial Services, and I worked at a couple different firms. And it was great financially. It was very rewarding. I was able to travel whenever I wanted. I was able to save a huge chunk of my income. I was comfortable, like too comfortable, where I did not feel challenged. I did not feel like I was helping anyone. And, sometimes that can seem almost like someone saying it in a spoiled way, but I just felt like I needed more out of life, to the point where I felt almost depressed, where I would go to work every day and I had friends and I would go to happy hour and hang out and travel. But I always just felt like I would come home and that was it. And it was just like, now what? Like, okay, now I just sit and watch The Simpsons, or I go drink with my friends. Not there's anything wrong with that, but I was looking for a lot more.
Well, can I jump in there for 1 second? Because I love how you are alluding to one of the core underlying causes of burnout, and how burnout doesn't look necessarily like being broke all the time. When you're emotionally and personally, energy-wise burnt out, and you just have trouble getting up every day and feeling good about the work you're doing,
oh yeah,
a huge part of that can be like, I don't feel that I have a strong purpose in the work that I'm doing, or I don't feel like the impact I'm making is one that, is what I'm here to do on this planet. And that's a big part of what we cover in our burnout prevention program in Bossed Up for Life, just to sort of throw that in there. Because it's a great point.
And that's definitely something I know, like even, I wish Bossed Up was around when I was 25 or whatever. And I was going through this, because it was like, who do you talk to about this? Because if you try to talk to your friends about it, they're kind of like, girl, what are you talking about? You have a super dope car, you have a super dope condo, like you're doing well. And I'm like, no, but I'm like sad. Like, I don't know what to do. And I'm reading all these books, and I look over at my bookshelf now, like The Quarter Life Crisis, and like, how to live the life of your dreams. And I was reading all these books, and I was just like, oh my gosh, it's horrible. And even like how you mentioned, the burnout, like getting up in the morning. I literally lived 5, maybe 7 minutes from my job. I could not get there on time to save my life. Like I could not get there on time. And my boss kept saying, you got to get here on time. Then the next day I'm like 20 minutes, like I don't know what it is. I just can't get up in the morning. So anyway, when I decided that I didn't want to do this anymore, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I went to my mentor, my mentor actually owned the firm that I worked at. And I was just like, look, I can't do this anymore. And it was kind of like, what are you going to do? And I was just like, I don't know. I just don't want to do this. And so it was, looking back on it, it probably wasn't the best decision, but I really feel like I just couldn't do it anymore. And I was very fortunate that I've always been a very aggressive saver. Obviously money's my thing. So I had about a year's worth of like expenses saved up, which was great. So I felt comfortable, but I was still very freaked out, because like most people, when they quit their jobs, they already have like a business started or something that they want to do. In the industry that I work in, you can't have like outside businesses because we're licensed stockbrokers. And so you can't, just have outside things going on. So essentially I ended up quitting the job. And it was interesting. And I always tell this story, like a week later, I had a trip planned to Miami, and I'm in Miami, and it was like everyone's asking, like, oh, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? And it got to me, and they asked me what I did. And it was like, oh shit, I don't have a job. Like literally that's when it hit me. Like, what am I going to do?
Right.
So I came back from the trip, and I was like, okay, it's crunch time. Like, what are we going to do, Dominique? So initially I decided I wanted to do cupcakes. I wanted to open a cupcake shop. This is around the time the Georgetown Cupcake ladies opened their shop. Well, before they did, actually. And I realized that I like to eat cupcakes, not bake cupcakes. So that was done.
I have to jump in here because I love that story. And this is so important for anyone out there who's like, okay, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to start a business. This is going to happen. Like, oftentimes when I see people going through major career transitions, and this is something I learned from Kathy Caprino, awesome Forbes contributor, has her own great blog as a career coach, and is super awesome at what she does. There's like a pendulum swing that usually happens when you're jumping from your comfort zone, what you've mastered, what you're bored with, what you're no longer interested in doing, to like exploring something else. We usually swing all the way over, like way far away, and then
somewhere totally different.
Right, totally different. And then the pendulum swings back a little bit, which is why every entrepreneurship story that's like, oh, this is how it happened, A, B, C, is like, yeah, right. You know, like there are so many little mini steps in between. And I really appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah. So cupcakes weren't my thing, basically. So, and then I decided, okay, I was like, okay, cupcakes aren't it. And then, dog, okay. And then I decided that I wanted to do real estate. Real estate has always been a passion of mine. I bought my first house at 22, and I always knew that buying houses was what I really wanted to do. If it wasn't full-time, just part-time, or just, you know, as an additional stream of rent, income. So I went down to Baltimore and started looking for homes and started putting contracts down on properties, like $5,000, $6,000 houses. And for some reason, like the contracts fell through, and I couldn't understand why. And I was just like, what is wrong? Like nothing is working. You ever get to that point where you're just like, I'm trying, but nothing is working the way it should. So I kind of, after that happened, or while that was happening, I realized that it wasn't that I hated financial services, because that's what I thought, because the financial services industry was so unethical. It was only helping the multimillionaires. It wasn't helping the people that I wanted to help, people like me, who weren't millionaires yet, but if they got the advice that they needed, they could get there. And so I kept having this thing, like, I really want to help people with their personal finances, but I didn't know how. I thought I needed to be with the firm to do so. So being a true entrepreneur, I decided, you know what, I'm going to try this personal finance thing. Literally, This is how it happened. And I was like, well, I got to get clients. I need to help people. Where am I going to find clients? I didn't have an email list. I didn't have anything. No one knew who I was other than, you know, just regular Dominique, your friend, not like Dominique, financial expert. So I got a booth at a conference called For Sisters Only. I paid $1,000. That's a lot of money. I do not recommend paying $1,000 for it. But I did. And it was all these things that are happening. I definitely feel like it was just completely God pushing me, because I'm so cheap. I don't pay $1,000 for anything. Like, I am so cheap. So even now I'm just like, I can't believe I did that. I didn't even have a job or any income coming in. So I paid $1,000 for the booth. I got a one-page landing page up, basically said Dominique Broadway, like fresh ideas for a brighter future. So corny. And I had like a cartoon me on the banner. I got business cards made. I got a banner made, a landing page. One of my best friends came down from New Jersey. She helped me work the booth. And I was just like, here I am, Dominique, like gonna save all your finances. And remarkably, about 95 people signed up to be on my mailing list. And I ended up making probably about a third of them clients, which was amazing. Totally worth the $1,000. But where I went wrong, and where a lot of people go wrong, is after that happened, and because I'm a true entrepreneur and I'm more of a doer than a planner a lot of times, I started the business, but I didn't have any pricing. I didn't have any systems in place, any structures, anything. So it's kind of like, oh, hey, Emily, what do you need help with? Oh, you need help with budgeting? All right, here, give me $50. Like, it does not work that way. And so because of that, I ran through my savings. I literally went broke. Right. And it was interesting because I had money to pay my bills for months and months and months. But after a while, I'm putting money into the business. I'm investing in certain things. And then I look up and I realize I didn't even think about this. I wasn't making enough money.
Right.
And so I went broke. I had no money. And I almost lost my house, almost lost my car, because I was so oblivious to what was going on, because I was so focused on my business that I started to ignore my own personal finances, which is
it's like how the cobbler's kids have no shoes, right? It's like, exactly. It's so important that you're sharing this with everyone, because, you know, there's a lot of ways to interpret being broke, right? And the way you interpret that can totally determine whether you persevere or crumble and say, I'm a failure. Like, I am personally failing at this. And like, that is not that internalizing that is only going to hurt you more. And if you, personal finance expert, boss who's been helping brokerage firms, is saying like, listen, this shit's hard. You got to figure it out one step at a time. There's an iterative process to it. I mean, let that just be an inspiration to say, A, you're not broke anymore. Hooray. Yes. But also B, like this stuff takes time. All career transitions take time. And it takes time.
Yeah, it takes time, it takes money, it takes patience, it takes processes, it takes having those things set up. And like I said, I'm such a doer, and I didn't know what that was going to turn into. And once that happened, I started winning all these awards and all these things started happening. And then after a while, I started feeling like a hypocrite because I was like, I can't even help myself right now. It was like I had a mental shutdown when it came to my own personal finances. But I have all these people calling me, oh my gosh, Dominique, thank you so much, you helped me. And I'm just like, I can't even help myself. What is going on? So I had like a come to Jesus moment, and I had to tell my family, like, look, things are bad. Like I messed up. Like I'm in a really bad hurdle. So I was able to sit down with my grandfather, actually, who's always been kind of like my financial planner. And he did like the same thing that I did with my clients, he did with me. And he helped me understand where I was going wrong, how much more money I needed to bring in. And it clicked. And I was just like, this isn't a hobby. This is a business.
Right.
And I wasn't running it like a business. I was running it like a hobby because I didn't have the intent of quitting my job to start like a business. I never said that, if you notice. I just wanted to help people. Right. And that's the issue a lot of times with women. We're just like, I want to help you. Like a lot of clients I was taking on free, like, girl, don't worry about it. I'll just help you, and it doesn't work that way.
Right.
And then after a while, I have processes in place and systems and payment structures and things like that. And everything turned around. Yeah. And also I was like wasting a lot of time doing different things that didn't, have any monetary value to me. So now being much more selective. But yeah, I mean, that was the process. And that's the thing that lasted about a year. I mean, it was not a quick
bump in the road. Yeah.
Oh no, it was not quick. And honestly, it's interesting because like you said, Emily, a lot of entrepreneurs act like, oh, I came up with this idea to create cute hats. And the next day I'm featured in like, I don't know, Glamour magazine for my hats. Like, no, that's not how it works. It's that story in the middle that a lot of times most people need to hear. Because I've told that story so many times and looked out in the audience and people are like crying.
Right.
And then people will come up to me at the end and say, I'm going through that right now.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest things I think that when I was going through that, I was angry with finances demystified. I'm like, finances demystified, it's your fault that this is happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it wasn't. The biggest thing I think that when you're going through these things and you're starting your business, your career, whatever it is, when you have those hardships and difficulties, they're all learning experiences.
Right.
I was angry with the business. I was angry with God for putting me through all this. I set myself up at 22 to be financially successful. What is going wrong? Right. And it was very upsetting, but I was able to learn more from those experiences that I've probably learned all of college.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot more about finances, about how to help people who are going through things like that. And honestly, those experiences, I feel like turned me into a woman.
Right.
Like when stuff was going down, I wasn't running. I was handling it. I'm like, oh no, we're going to handle the situation.
I feel like
also made
there's so many cliches that apply here, but it really is like how you handle failure that determines your success. Failure is such a stupid, has such a bad connotation. Mm-hmm. To me, failure is only failure officially if it's the end. If it's the end of you trying. And the key here is that you didn't try to go it alone. Mm-hmm. Community is so essential for all of us going through a career transition or going through starting your own business, that when I see type A driven women like ourselves here trying to like hustle and just keep our head to the grindstone or keep our nose to the grindstone or whatever it is and do it alone, that's where things can get really bad. And that's definitely happened with me in starting Boss Up. Like community, whether it's a board of advisors, whether it's your grandfather, whether it's your friends or reaching out to people in a more official, like,
will you
mentor me? Right. Like help.
Yeah.
We need help.
And I think a lot of times, I know even me, I felt like with my mom, my dad, my grandma, my grandfather, who are the closest to me, I was so scared of disappointing them. Like that was my biggest fear. I'm going to disappoint them by telling them how much I've screwed up. And what you have to realize is your family, your friends, and even when I started sharing my story with my friends, I thought they would judge me. They were like, oh, girl, we've all been there. And I'm just like, okay, so everyone's going through this, but I'm the only one that's like sitting over here hiding, not talking about it. And even still, everyone was so supportive and so helpful in providing resources and just helping me shift my mindset to be like, no, Dominique, you are the shit. You can do this.
Right.
You're already helping people. Just understand that you need to run this more like a business. And also too, sharing these experiences with other family too, they also help me to understand like different experiences that they went through and how they handled it. And so, I mean, the power of, like you said, community and sharing your experiences and not hiding them can literally be what can save you and give you the strength that you need to go to the next level. You always see that little image where the guy is like, there's this one guy who's like knocking away at the rocks, and it's like he gets tired and turned around, but he's this close from hitting the pot of gold. There's the other guy who keeps going. And a lot of times I feel like if I had quit 2 years ago when I wanted to, I would not be here right now. I wouldn't be, in a much better place, financially sound, financially comfortable, and actually doing something that I love to do on a daily basis. So yeah, I mean,
and it's just like what you're saying. It sort of boils down to a lot of the messages that I get from Brené Brown, who I love, who a lot of you are probably familiar with after her epic TED Talk on the power of vulnerability. But you can't actually gain the kind of meaningful community you need to learn and grow with until you're willing to be courageous enough to be vulnerable and be straight with people. And that's what the Bossed Up community is. And it's like written into our manifesto. It says like, have confidence in your ability to figure it out. It's not have confidence in yourself. That's like bravado. Like, yeah, I'm the shit. I'm doing great. Whatever. Don't talk to me. I'm awesome. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I am sure that I can figure it out. And
that's what life is all about. Some people give up and some people are like, I'm going to figure it out.
Right. And sometimes the destination ends up looking a lot different than when you set out. But
I have to say that's probably one of the most exciting things. I think that was one of the things that when I set goals, I was always not necessarily an overachiever academically, but an overachiever in life. My grades weren't that great, but in life, I've always been an overachiever when it comes to reaching goals and in making money and things like that. And this is not how, I'll be 31 in like 2 weeks. Scary. But this is not this is not where I thought I would be at 30, but I'm okay. This is good. This is actually better than what I thought. And that's okay. Right. And I think that's what I had to tell my 25-year-old self was like, Dominique, like, it's cool. You're going to be fine. Things didn't turn out exactly the way that you planned them at 22 and 23, but things always work out for the greater good. They're going to be better. And so I think that's one of the things that I wish a lot of people realize, like, it's great to have plans. We should all set plans and goals, but if things don't go as planned, it doesn't make you a failure. It just means that things went differently.
Right.
And I think the way that God pushes us, no matter, what your religious beliefs are, is that we're getting pushed to be in the places that we're supposed to be. If I still had a job, I probably wouldn't have met Emily. Right? I probably wouldn't have met you. Because I would have been speaking at that event because I wouldn't be speaking. Because if I had a job, I wouldn't be speaking at places.
Right.
And so it's just all these different people that I met. And, it's just interesting. You have to be very confident in, that the universe is pushing you where you need to be.
And it's funny because I am as like non-spiritual as they come, really. I'm a pretty like agnostic person.
Yeah.
And starting your own business taught me what faith is. It's not necessarily what we've been taught it is. It's faith that shit's going to happen. You're not going to plan it all. You're going to be sidetracked. Things that were unexpected will happen. But you just have to have faith that you'll figure it out. And that is a different kind. That's like a whole different kind of faith that I've never had in my life before, that entrepreneurship of all things taught me. So
it's a good lesson.
Powerful.
Lesson giver. Yeah.
So questions, just as a quick reminder to our awesome viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. Give us a shout out on Twitter, #CareerCrush, and also tag us at Ms. Finance Coach. That's MS Finance Coach. That's Dominique's Twitter handle. And I'm at BossedUp.org or Emily Aries. And shout out with your questions, your comments, your thoughts, your feedback. What have we not covered yet? With the last few minutes here, that we're going to spend, that you want to learn about Dominique's story, about her career transition, about Bossed Up, about finances demystified, or about how to get your money right for the new year. Because I want to give you a chance now, Dominique, to share a little bit more about what are you seeing amongst your clients? Like, tell us about what kind of work you do with your clients, and what are people looking to do in the coming year? What advice have you been giving for how to start off on the right foot in 2016 and get your most wealthy year yet, right? Like, get a wealthy year together.
Yeah. So so basically, you know, at Finances Demystified, we do financial planning and personal finance coaching, focusing on millennials, entrepreneurs, and creatives. And basically just helping people with everything from budgeting to saving to paying down debt to, you know, increasing your credit score if needed, or, you know, trying to figure out how much house can you afford if you're trying to buy a house, paying off your student loans, everything that I say, anything with your name and a dollar sign, we can help you with, right? That sounds so cheesy, but yeah.
I love it.
And that's basically how it works. So most of my clients, you know, a lot of clients, especially millennials, they're dealing with the student loan debt, right? They're trying to figure out how to purchase their first home, how to get rid of their credit cards. And I think, you know, a lot of the advice I've been giving this year is just really, honestly, one of the advice I'm giving all the time, people always ask me the secret to wealth and getting rich. It's always spending less than what you bring in. And I know that one of the reasons why I was able to save so much when I was younger is because I was able to save almost 60% of my income.
Oh,
because I kept my expenses low. And after I bought my condo, everyone expected me to go buy a brand new car. And I'm like, I'm driving this old car until it dies. And it actually did. Had a mild fire under the hood. And, you know, because of that, I had to buy a new car. But either way, and then when I did buy a new car, I didn't buy the most expensive car. I bought a used BMW, which was, you know, it was almost 40% off the regular price if I had bought it brand new. And just being strategic,
right? Your
purchases, looking at price tags. I have a friend, every time I go to the store, he's like, you're always looking at price tags. I'm like, you don't look at price tags. You're weird. So I'm a price tag looker. And I just say, keeping your expenses low and not letting your money slip away. I think another big thing that I've learned and has helped a lot of people and has helped me, you know, I always say every single morning I wake up, I pray, and I look at mint.com. That's what I do. And if Mint is acting funny and not connecting, I look at every single bank account, all my personal bank accounts, all my business bank accounts, all my investments. Knowing where your money is, how much you have. And that's one of the biggest things. Most people I meet, they look at their bank accounts like once every 2 weeks. I'm like, oh my gosh, sometimes I check 2 times a day.
Yeah.
Like I always want to know what's going on with my money. And I think that if people are just more observant with their money, you'll know where it's going.
This is so important for women in particular.
Yeah.
Because the women who come to Bossed Up Bootcamp, which is our career transition retreat, we host every couple of months. We got one coming up this month. Oftentimes what we're struggling with is not knowing that we should check that. It's that we have to actually prioritize ourselves over all of the other demands on our time and resources. Yeah. And that's really like saying I am worth the energy and effort that it takes to get a handle over my finances.
Yeah.
Before I respond to my boss's email, before I get back to you about what brownies to bake for the bake sale, like the millions of demands on our time and attention that women in particular face with like something that you can Google is called role overload. Like women in particular tend to struggle from this even more than men, where we're just being pulled in opposite directions all the time by the people, whether it's the ones we love, like our kids and our families and our boyfriends and our friends, or our jobs.
Yeah.
And many different hats that we juggle. You've got to put your own hat on. Like you've got to take time to take care of yourself, whether that means physically, spiritually, financially. That's what being bossed up is all about, is saying, I'm still a good person. I'm going to ask for what I deserve, and I'm going to make myself a priority.
And you, I saw you, I think you posted that somewhere on social media this morning, and I was about, you know, getting your doctor's appointments and things like that. And I was like,
oh yeah,
I have a little dentist appointment. But, you know, it's very easy to like let that stuff go. You know, I was talking to my mom this morning, and she's like, oh, did you take your car to get fixed yet? And I'm like, oh, I'm so busy this week. And she's like, you need to do it. I'm like, you know what? You're right. If my car breaks down because I don't get it fixed, then I won't be able to go to any meeting.
Right.
So it's like prioritizing and knowing what's important. You have to take care of you. They say you can't pour from an empty glass. You know what I mean? If you're not filled, you can't give to anyone else. So
right. That's what sustainable success is all about, is taking care of yourself so that you can help others for the long haul. Awesome. So there's a lot of amazing ways that you can catch up with Dominique and I. I want to make sure that we mention that Dominique and I and some other incredible people are going to be hosting an event, but we're announcing tomorrow. So you are an early bird getting in the loop here. On January 16th in Washington, D.C., we're hosting an event to basically help you get set for your wealthiest year yet.
Yeah, so it's going to be called Your Wealthy Year. We're going to give you all the tools to make 2016 and 17 and 18 and all the other ones. Every single year, your wealthy year.
Yeah.
And wealthier and wealthier and wealthier and wealthier.
And there's so many ways to interpret the word wealthy, right? We've got financial expertise coming in. Dominique, who else is joining us? It's you and...
Yeah, as of right now, we have Courtney of Think and Grow Chick, who's also supposed to be in town and joining. So she's phenomenal. So you're in for a treat, and she's going to be talking about creating additional streams of income.
Right. And so this is for just entrepreneurs or everybody?
This is for everyone. You know, cool. Career, entrepreneur, no matter where you are in life, this information can apply to you if you're 20, if you're 60, like literally this information is going to be able to apply to anyone.
Right.
So.
And it's going to be a pretty intimate event. I'm doing a conversation that we'll be talking about your vision for the year and how to really plan for it strategically. And then frankly, implementing some of the bossed up tools as to how to balance multiple goals over the term of an entire year without burning out. So stay tuned for more details on that coming to both of our websites, DominiqueBroadway.com and bossedup.com. And because Dominique and I can't get enough of each other, she's co-hosting our Bossed Up Power Hour, our monthly happy hour that's hosted here in DC. The next one that's coming up, they're always on the second to last Thursday of the month. So our next one is on the 21st. You can check it out at bossedup.com right now. Scroll down to the bottom of the homepage where you'll see all of our upcoming events. And I'm so, so excited that we're going to be making our debut in New York City this month. So Bossed Up, we're teaming up with the women behind Ask For It, a crazy cool negotiation service that helps us practice the art of negotiation for salary negotiation and other kinds of negotiation. And that's the last Thursday of the month, the 28th. Up in New York City. You can also get those details. So I'll be there and you can hang out with all of us.
Yes.
So we've got so many awesome tweets coming in. The one last question I want to make sure we get to is how do you find the, well, we have something here about how do you find the way or the courage rather to take control of your finances and take control of your career in the way that you have, Dominique. So we've heard your awesome story. Thank you so much for sharing. What lessons have you learned along the way that you can sort of share with others who are in a spot where they're looking for the next steps that they can take to be courageous and be a boss in their own life?
Yeah, so I think it's a saying that I say all the time, and I'm sure you've heard it numerous times. Actually, I'm looking around. I have coffee mugs with them on, which will be on the site next week. But one of the things that really has kept me going when I wanted to quit, and even helped me to start when I was scared to start, was I was so scared of waking up at 85 or 90 years old and thinking, I wish I had done this. I wish I had done that. I wish I had done whatever. And that's one of my biggest fears. I'm so scared of just being full of regret. And because of that, that's honestly what keeps me going every day. And that's why I got it on coffee mugs. Don't fear failure, fear regret. So I wasn't scared of failing. My biggest thing when I started my business and I quit my job, my friend asked me, so, you know, what's the worst case scenario, right? I said, worst case scenario is that I lose my house, I lose my car. Basically, everything that you lose is going to be financial related, right?
Right.
And I felt like that didn't scare me. I don't know why. Even now, it doesn't scare me because you can get more things. And that's all you would lose, really, is things. You're not going to lose your family. You're not going to lose your friends. You would just lose things. And if you're scared of not losing things, then I would say go for it. Go for whatever it is, just because you don't want to wake up and say, I really wish I had started that business, or I really wish I had made that career switch, or I really wish I had took that trip, you know, while I was still active, a young active thing, you know, whatever it may be. And that's what I was so scared of. Yeah. So that's what keeps me going.
And that is so
even still, when I look at like a lot of super successful entrepreneurs and the big entrepreneurs of the world, most of them have gone through major financial issues. Most of them have filed bankruptcy. And I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, but he's filed bankruptcy like 8 times. Okay. And no one even knows that.
Right.
So, and I haven't had to file bankruptcy, thank God. But it's one of those things where it's okay. You bounce back. Right.
Right.
As long as you're not dying, you're good.
As long as you're not the government too, which shouldn't, but yes, that's a whole other story. But no, I love that. And you just reminded me of the research I was doing in preparation for today's YouTube video, which is the first of a weekly series we're putting out now called Ask Emily. It's on Bossed Up's YouTube page, which is all about the first 3 steps that you have to take now to get yourself ready to make this year the year you make that big career leap or that big career transition year. And one of the most common things that I found in my research was almost everybody who goes through a major career transition like you have and like I have, all that they have in common is saying that I wish I had started this process years ago.
Yeah.
I wish I'd given myself permission to make this happen sooner.
Yeah.
So don't fear failure, as Dominique says, fear regret. Make this the year you actually make that leap, and we can help you make it happen. This community is here for you. Keep tweeting at us whenever it is that you're watching this, even if it isn't live in the future. We are always happy to take your questions and give you feedback on Twitter and on all the social medias and all the interwebs. Head on over to DominiqueBroadway.com and bossedup.com to keep in touch with me and Dominique. Dominique, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks again for having me. And if you guys have any questions, like Emily said, go to DominiqueBroadway.com. You can always follow me on Twitter at MS Finance Coach. I post a lot of cool stuff on Instagram at Dominique Broadway. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you next Saturday for your wealthy year.
Awesome. Thanks so much. I'll see you soon, Dominique.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.